Hi, welcome to section 4.4. I'm going to be doing the first part of it, and I believe Ms. Lenhoff will be doing the second part. So let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to be looking at the slope of lines and graphing those lines, and when we have an equation for them, because they make lines, they're called linear equations. So we've got several different types of ways that we're going to look at these, so let's go ahead and just plunge right in. So the first thing we're going to look at is the slope of the line. We're going to find the slope through 2 points. Now let's just first define what the slope of the line is. Remember, the slope of the line is going to be the steepness that the line has. And we're going to denote that by using the letter M. I know it doesn't seem very common sense to use M, but that's what we do. So we're going to do that too. All right, so we're going to calculate non-vertical lines using any 2 points on the line. So the formula for that slope is going to be M is equal to the rise over the run, and the rise is being our vertical, and our run is our horizontal. And we've got the formula written right over here for us. So if you're given the points x1, y1, and x2, y2, your slope is going to be then the change in the y's, y2 minus y1, over the change in the x's. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go back to x2 minus x1. So it's also right there. All right, so let's go ahead and do a few of these. I'm going to look at this first example, and I'll label these points as x1, y1, and x2, y2. And I'll set this up as, so we're going to take y2 minus y1, and we're going to divide that by x2 minus x1. So 7 minus 3 in the numerator gives me 4, and negative 2 minus 6 gives me negative 8 in the denominator. Now, take a note here. It's always appropriate to simplify. So I can divide this by, 4 in the top and the bottom. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. And don't forget we have that negative, so that slope is negative 1/2. On this one, I'm going to take x2, I'm going to make that negative 9, minus negative 5. And then in the denominator, I'll have 6 minus 2. So we're going to work, remember, we're going to work the numerator first and then the denominator. So negative 5 minus negative 9 minus negative 5 is the same thing as negative 9 plus 5, which is going to give us negative 4 in the numerator. And 6 minus 2 is 4. And if we simplify that, we get negative 1. And let's go to here. And our last one, we're going to take 20 minus 0 over 10 minus 0, which gives us 20 over 10. And that simplifies just to 2. So our slope is 2. And yes, it doesn't, these second, the negative 1 and the 2 are not fractions, and that's okay. So there are 4 possibilities on how this slope can look when we graph that line. So if it rises from the left to the right, the slope is going to be positive. If it falls from the left to the right, it's going to be negative. If the line is horizontal, it has a slope of 0. And if the line is vertical, it has a slope that is undefined. is undefined. And the reason it's undefined is because when we calculate this slope, and we have the change in the y's over the change in x's, the change in x's is 0. So we're going to have a 0 in the denominator, which means we're dividing by 0. We can't divide by 0, right? So that's why it's undefined, because you can't divide by 0. So take a look at all these beautiful pictures there that show positive, negative, 0, and undefined slope there. So when we're working with linear equations, it's really good practice to put them in slope-intercept form, because that's going to makes it easier for us to graph. Oops. So slope-intercept form is what I want. It's going to make it easier for us to graph our lines, because we can see certain things. This means isolating the y variable, so it's going to be y equals something, and it looks like this, mx plus b. Now, when we do that, we get these two useful aids that we can graph. First, we use the b, and that is where it crosses the y-axis. And that's typically in the form of 0, b, that point. And so that's where we're going to start, and that is called the y-intercept. Then once we put a point there, from that point, we can look at the slope, which is going to be the m, which is the number in front of the x. And we can use that slope to plot our next point. All right, so we're going to look at a linear equation that's given to you as 2x plus 3y equals 6. We're going to use our knowledge of algebra to create this isolate our y. So I'm going to first subtract 2x from each side, and we get 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. And then when I divide by 3, we'll get y equals negative 2/3 x plus, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So our y-intercept is 2, or the point 0, 2, and the slope is that number in front of the x, negative 2/3. And it's negative, so we know when we draw it, it's going to go that direction. So this is helpful to graph this, because we only need a point on the line and the slope. So first we're going to plot that y-intercept of 0, 2. So 0, 2, right there. And then we're going to do what we do with the slope. Oops. And in that it's negative, so we can put the negative in the top, or we can put it in the bottom, but we can't do both. So I'm going to choose to do it in the top. So remember that is, oops. From that point, I'm going to go to the right 2 and down, rise over run, I'm sorry. So up 2 and to the left 3. That's going to give me this point. Or I could do it the other direction, and I could go down 2 and to the right 3. Anyway, those all three are on the same line, and that is what the line will look like. And there's our beautiful line. So as we go on, you're going to get a chance to do these. So now it's your turn. So take a look at what we've done and on our notes, and do this one in the same way. Go ahead and pause the video, and then when you've done your work, click on the video, and this will forward into the answer, and you can check your work. Welcome back. Did you get that? Isn't that great? I knew you could do it. And go on to the next video, and we'll do our work in class. See you then.